Today I want to share with you something truly transformative, something that no one else will ever teach you in quite the same way. You see, we are creatures of habit. From the moment we wake up until we lay our heads down at night, we are constantly running on autopilot. But what if I told you that you have the power to break free from this cycle? What if I told you that you can create a new reality for yourself, starting right now? Most of us wake up in the morning and immediately reach for our phones. We check our messages, scroll through social media, and allow ourselves to be bombarded by external stimuli. But what if, instead, you began your day with a simple question? What is the greatest ideal of myself that I can be today? This question shifts the focus from external distractions to your innermost desires. It puts you in control of your day rather than allowing the outside world to dictate your actions. And when those distractions inevitably arise, remember, you are not your body, you are the master of your mind. Let's take a closer look at how we can become more mindful in our daily lives. One simple yet powerful practice is to set aside a few moments each day to jot down 4 thoughts that you want to keep in your awareness. These could be positive affirmations, reminders of your goals, or reflections on your values and aspirations. But it's not just about writing down these thoughts, it's about actively paying attention to them throughout the day. Notice how they influence your speech, your actions, and your emotions. Are they guiding you towards your highest good? Are they in line with the person you want to become? For example, if one of your thoughts is, "I am capable and deserving of success," pay attention to how you speak about yourself and your abilities. Are you using language that reflects confidence and self-belief? Are you taking actions that align with this belief, such as setting ambitious goals and pursuing them with determination? Similarly, if another thought is, "I am grateful for the abundance in my life," observe how this attitude affects your emotions and outlook. Are you feeling more optimistic and appreciative of the blessings around you? Are you noticing opportunities for growth and abundance that you might have overlooked before? By becoming more conscious of our thoughts and their impact on our words, actions, and emotions, we can start to make positive changes in our lives. We can choose to focus on thoughts that empower us, uplift us, and align with our deepest values and aspirations. Let's delve deeper into the amazing ability we have to rewire our brains for success. Imagine your brain as a big, intricate network of wires and connections. When we think a certain thought or perform a particular behavior, it's like sending an electrical signal down one of these wires. Over time, the more we repeat these thoughts and behaviors, the stronger and more ingrained these connections become. But here's the exciting part. We have the power to change these connections. We can fire and wire new thoughts and behaviors until they become second nature to us. It's like forging new pathways in our brains, paving the way for a brighter and more fulfilling future. Now let's dive into the wonderful world of gratitude. Gratitude is like a magic potion that opens the doors to endless blessings and opportunities. When you feel thankful for what you have, it's like you're saying yes to all the good things that life has to offer. Imagine gratitude as a big, warm hug from the universe. When you express gratitude, you're telling the universe, "Hey, I appreciate all the amazing things in my life." And in return, the universe says, "You're welcome. Here's even more goodness coming your way." So how can you harness the power of gratitude in your own life? It's simple, really. Every evening, take just 10 minutes to sit quietly and reflect on all the things you're grateful for. It could be the roof over your head, the food on your table, or the love of your family and friends. But here's the key. Don't just go through the motions. Really feel the emotion of gratitude in every fiber of your being. Feel it in your heart, in your soul, in every cell of your body. Let it wash over you like a warm wave of happiness and contentment. As you bask in the glow of gratitude, you'll start to notice something amazing happening. Your worries and fears will melt away, replaced by a sense of peace and serenity. You'll feel lighter, happier, and more alive than ever before. But the benefits of gratitude go beyond just feeling good. Studies have shown that practicing gratitude can actually improve your physical and mental health. It boosts your immune system, lowers your blood pressure, and reduces symptoms of depression and anxiety. Gratitude is also like a magnet for good things. When you're grateful for what you have, you attract even more blessings into your life. It's like the universe rewards you for being appreciative, showering you with abundance and prosperity. So why not give gratitude a try? It doesn't cost a thing, and the rewards are priceless. Start by keeping a gratitude journal where you can write down 3 things you're thankful for each day, or simply take a few moments each evening to say a silent thank you to the universe. Gratitude is not just a fleeting feeling. It's a powerful force that can transform your reality. As you elevate your state, you activate over 1,200 chemical reactions in your body, leading to healing and restoration on a cellular level. Let's take a moment to talk about how being present can make a big difference in our lives. Nowadays, life moves fast, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed and stressed out. But there's a simple yet powerful way to combat these feelings: by practicing presence. Presence means being fully engaged in the moment without worrying about the past or the future. It's about closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and focusing on what's happening right now. When you do this, something amazing happens inside your brain. You see, when we're stressed or anxious, our bodies release hormones like cortisol that can make us feel even more on edge. But by consciously bringing our attention to the present moment, we can actually reduce the levels of these stress hormones in our bodies. Imagine it like this: when you're in a state of presence, your brain waves become more organized and coherent, like a symphony playing in perfect harmony. This not only helps to calm your mind and body, but it also allows you to think more clearly and make better decisions. So how can you practice presence in your everyday life? It's simple. Start by finding a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, focusing on the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. Next, tune into your surroundings. Notice the sounds around you, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, the sensation of your clothes against your skin. Really immerse yourself in the present moment without judgment or expectation. As you continue to practice presence, you'll find that it becomes easier and easier to stay grounded, even in the midst of chaos. You'll begin to notice that the little things that used to stress you out don't bother you as much anymore. And most importantly, you'll feel more at peace with yourself and the world around you. Becoming more aware of your surroundings is not just a practice, it's a way of life. By tuning into the present moment, you release the grip of the past and open yourself up to infinite possibilities. Your thoughts and feelings create your reality. By cultivating positive thoughts and emotions, you can shift your entire state of being. Attitudes become beliefs, beliefs become habits, and habits shape your destiny. So, I challenge you to embrace this wisdom, take control of your thoughts, express gratitude daily, and live in the present moment. No one will ever teach you something like this, because this is your journey, your path to transformation. Now, if you trust that you can go a little further, then all of those thoughts are just thoughts in your head that you have to create coherence around. So if you stopped and you said, I am going to master this moment, forget about going anywhere, doing anything, following instructions. I'm just going to work with my body to get it back into the present moment and continue to unfold back into possibility. Here's my question. If you turn that battleship around even slightly by executing a will that's greater than that program, and you are in hot pursuit of your own freedom, and your brain and your personality is beating you up, I've had those moments. And you know what? It's David and Goliath. It has always seemed bigger than me because I've given it so much of my attention and so much of my energy. It is bigger than me. But when I no longer pay attention to it, just like not giving my power to it, Now I can settle myself back into the present moment, and it's just the thought. And I examine that thought, I look at it, and I become very familiar and conscious of it. And then my brain will say, well, what about this? You did this wrong. It's too late. Give up. And then I address that thought. Now here's my question. 45 minutes of doing battle with your personality and continuously choosing love and unfolding deeper into it. If you make the effort to disinvest your attention and energy out of Goliath and pull energy back to you, but the next meditation that you have could be the easiest meditation for you to connect. Is it possible? So then that had to come up for you in order for you to evolve through it. Yes or no? And your body is just saying, look, I'd rather be worrying about my taxes than connect to the divine. Yes or no? There's a book that was one of my favorite books I ever read. It's called The Red Lion. And The Red Lion is a great story of an initiate that murders an alchemist and drinks the philosopher's stone, drinks the Red Lion, the elixir of life that causes immortality. And he wasn't ready to drink this philosopher's stone. He wasn't of the right consciousness, and when he drank it, he never forgot any of his lifetimes, and he saw all his demons. And this book is this journey of this soul through different levels of every single lifetime you can imagine that you and I can relate to. And he runs into a secret society and he becomes initiated. And there's a chapter in The Red Lion called The Kilkyard. And I asked my children to read that chapter every year. Every year they have to read that chapter because the initiate sits down in front of a statue, an inanimate statue. And his job is to animate that statue and bring it to life. Are you with me? And for years, he wakes up in the morning, makes his tea, has his breakfast, and then all day he's putting his life force and his energy into animating this particular statue. And after years, he notices it swallows. He notices it moving its finger. And the moment he starts to realize that he could take something inanimate and bring it to life, he gives it more of his attention and energy. You with me still? Until it is a walking, talking being. As we begin to create more coherence in the brain, more coherence in the heart, you're creating a very profound laser, a Wi-Fi signal that can allow you to read information. Can't read it if you're separate. You can't read it if your brain's incoherent. You can't read it if your heart's incoherent. And so the more coherence and order you have, the more the experience gets enriched because you can't read that information unless you're ready for it. That's the point. So as people start getting through this and they start having very profound moments and they're now opening their heart and they can sustain heart coherence and they know how to create brain coherence, that's the formula. And now they have a laser. They have coherent light and information that can read information that exists beyond the senses. And the pineal gland, once activated, will transduce it into profound imagery. Whether you see with your eyes open or your eyes closed, it doesn't matter because it's more real than anything you've ever experienced. Let's have a small pause here. It's the next part. Dr. Zhou is going to talk about his research about the 4 states of matter. Listen carefully, this is very important. And so I started researching and I found that there's 4 states of matter. There's solids, there's liquids, there's gases, and the biggest, most abundant form of matter, what's called plasma. And plasma is when you have a negative charge and a positive charge, and they haven't formed an atom yet. So if you have a negative charge and a positive charge, then you're going to have an electrical current running between the two and a field around that current. And the universe really, stars connect through plasma. Everything connects through plasma. S. Intention is, you may say, I want a healing, I want a new job, I want a new relationship. Now, the moment you ask the question, the what if question, what would it be like to be in love? What would it be like to have a new job? What would it be like to be in a new relationship, to do whatever, to be healed? The moment you ask that question, the part of your brain called the frontal lobe, which is the crowning achievement of the human being, 40% of your brain is the frontal lobe. It's the workshop, it's the creative center. Frontal lobe has connections to all other parts of your brain. The moment you ask an open-ended question, you speculate a possibility. The creative center turns on, and it looks out over the landscape of the entire brain, and it begins to call up different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain based on something you've learned intellectually, knowledge, or something you've experienced in your life. Like, well, I know what it is to be in love, or I know what it is to have a good job, or I read a book about it, and it begins to call up these different networks of neurons, and then it seamlessly pieces them together to create a new idea, a new vision. Now listen, your body's gonna go like, well, we gotta get a cup of coffee, and you gotta go, I'm tired, and you gotta go, body, you're not the mind, I'm the mind right now. You're gonna sit here, I'm gonna feed you, you're gonna get your coffee, you're going to do all those things, but right now, this is my time. You're going to obey me. Right? So now the body's no longer the mind, you're the mind. And so when it wants to get up and you become aware of it, you return back to the present moment. Every time you do, that's a victory. And you're changing some aspect of yourself. So then ask yourself, I do this all the time. Write down 4 thoughts that you're going to stay conscious of the whole day. I can't, it's too hard. You'd be surprised the moment you become conscious of what those thoughts are, how unconscious you've been to them all day, all for weeks on end. Write down what you speak, how you speak, 4 things you want to change, how you act, how do you act? Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? Do you feel sorry for yourself? That's a victim consciousness. What emotions do you live by? Is it possible that you're so used to living by guilt you don't even know it's guilt, it just feels like you? Do you allow your energy to drop? Become conscious of those states of mind and body and review them and say, this is the old self. Then say, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? And start firing and wiring and start feeling it. What behaviors will I demonstrate today? What choices will I make? One day, one lifetime, just like you did, rehearse them. Rehearse the whole entire thing. Begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain. And if you keep installing it, the hardware is going to become a software program, and you're going to start thinking and acting that way. And then here's the tough part. Can you teach your body emotionally what your future is going to feel like before it's made manifest? And don't get up until you feel that way. Now practice that for a few days and then see if you can stay in that state and watch all of a sudden all those weird doors start opening for you. Synchronicities, whatever they are. Number 2, take time at the end of your day before you lay down and give thanks for your life. Feel gratitude and really teach your body what it feels like. The emotional signature of gratitude means you're getting something. If I give you something that's of value, you would say thank you because you would feel it, right? So when you're receiving, you're giving thanks. So gratitude is the ultimate state of receiving. So then people only accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to their emotional state. So if you're in a state of gratitude, every thought's gonna make it right down into your body. If you're saying, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, and your body's programmed the negativity, it's saying, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, thought's going to stop right here. So as you elevate your state, there are about 100-200 different chemical reactions that go on in the body that begin to restore and repair the body in a state of gratitude. And so we've done the research to prove that. 10 minutes and just feel it with all of your heart. That's it. The third thing, and very important, take time. Whenever it is, sit down, close your eyes, and begin to just open your awareness to the space around you and just sense it and pay attention to it and become more aware of it. The act of opening your awareness begins to reduce the stress hormones and creates more coherent brainwave states. I'm doing it right now. It's just a practice. It's just a practice. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. Most of our thoughts and feelings come from our past experiences. They come from our memories. In fact, your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a record of all the things you've learned and experienced to date. It's an artifact. And when you have an experience, when you're in the midst of an experience, all of your five senses plug you into the external environment. And as your brain is processing all of this vital sensory data, all of that information rushes back to the brain, and when it reaches the brain, it causes jungles of neurons to organize themselves into networks, to string into patterns, to reflect their interaction with their external environment. The moment those neurons organize into patterns, the brain makes a chemical, and that chemical is called a feeling or an emotion. And so experiences tend to create more long-term memories because it patterns or stamps or embosses networks of neurons into very specific patterns. And then the emotional quotient helps us to remember the event. So we learn something new intellectually. We also cause networks of neurons to form. The Nobel Prize laureate Kandel in the year 2000 found that when people learn just one bit of information, they double the number of connections in their brain from 1,300 connections to 2,600 connections. So if they didn't review that information or repeat it, the connections pruned apart. So we know then that learning semantic information begins to organize circuitry in the brain, and experiences enrich the brain. The end product of experience, of course, is the emotion, and it causes us to feel certain ways. You can remember where you were on 9/11. You can tell me who you were with, what time of day it was, what you were doing, because whatever you were seeing in that moment or hearing in that moment changed how you were feeling. And the moment you felt altered or you felt differently, significantly, your brain perked up and you paid attention to whatever caused that. And that event in and of itself is called a memory. So then most of our thoughts and feelings tend to be within the neural circuitry of the past and the emotions of the past chemically. So if you take a thought, thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body, and how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. So if you combine a thought and a feeling, a thought and a feeling, a thought and a feeling, and you have a series of good thoughts that are connected to a series of good feelings. That cycle of thinking and feeling creates what's called an attitude. If you have a series of negative thoughts that are connected to some pretty bad feelings, you'll say, I have a pretty bad attitude today. So if how you think and how you feel creates a state of being, then attitudes are just shortened states of being. You feel good in the morning, you feel bad in the afternoon. If you take an attitude, an attitude, an attitude, and you begin to string attitudes together, when you combine an attitude, an attitude, an attitude, you start to form what's called beliefs. Now, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again until you hardwire it in your brain. And because beliefs are based on past experiences, then the very boundaries of our beliefs are how we feel. And so when our beliefs get challenged, it typically doesn't feel right. I know from the research that we've done that the redundancy of thinking and feeling and thinking over time, for example, a person has an insecure thought, then they feel insecure. The moment they feel insecure, they think more insecure thoughts. They fire and wire more circuits in their brain to feel more chemicals of insecurity. And then once they're feeling insecure, they think more insecure thoughts. And they do this over and over again. Right on the other side of your fear is courage. Right on the other side of your sadness is joy. It's the same energy. It's just trapped in the body. And when you stretch yourself past that point and you break free from the chains of those emotional addictions, the side effect of that is called joy. And the body is liberated from that level of mind. And when that happens, there's available energy to create with. And so when you break through that, you begin to love yourself. You begin to respect yourself. And you begin to love and respect others because you see yourself in them. And now that you're free from it, you can understand them with compassion without knee-jerking in the same way. So the difficulty here is really making the time to do it. And if you began to think about a new way of being and you moved into a state where you said, I'm not going to get up until I am this person. And not only did you memorize it neurologically in your brain, but you allowed the thoughts that you were thinking to become the experience to the point that your body, as the unconscious mind, began to live in that future reality in the present moment. And when you got up, when mind and body were working together in that state of being, and you said, I'm going to maintain the state of being my entire day, and I don't care. Bring on the challenges, because I want to test my greatness. And you did that the entire day. The end of your day, when you finished your day, more than likely you'd have more energy than when you started. The literal translation of the word meditation in Tibetan means to become familiar with. The symbol means to become familiar with. So if you're becoming conscious of or familiar with your unconscious self to the point you're so conscious of your unconscious thoughts, so familiar with your unconscious habits, and so aware of your emotions that you would never let them go by unnoticed by you. There's no chance for you to return back to the old self, to know thyself. So people wake up in the morning and they start thinking about their problems. And those problems are memories in the brain that are connected to certain people and certain things at certain times and places. So they wake up in the morning and they start thinking in the past. Now, the moment they start having those thoughts, every one of those experiences has an emotion associated with it. So when they start thinking about their problems or the problems of the world or the problems of their body or whatever it is, problems at work, they all of a sudden start to feel the correlated emotion. So now their body's in the past. So now people then get caught up in an emotion, they reaffirm their identity, they could wake up in the morning and feel nothing at all. And then all of a sudden they say, well, wait a second, I've got to get back to myself. So they start thinking about their problems, and here come the emotions. And they say, oh, now I feel like me again. So those emotions then begin to influence our thoughts. Like if you feel like a failure, you're going to think you're a failure. And when you think you're a failure, you're going to feel like a failure. And when you feel like a failure, you're going to think more thoughts equal to being a failure. And the cycle of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking causes you to say, I am a failure. And the repetition of that process of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking conditions the body to become the mind of that emotion. Now the emotion is stored in the body. Now the body's literally in the past. And the body, as the unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between the actual experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. Your body's believing it's in the same experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So then getting people out of the past is the work. So then they wake up in the morning after they reaffirm who they are, and they can't think greater than how they feel. They're in the familiar past. So if you're in the familiar past, you're going to do the things that reaffirm the emotions of your predictable future. So you wake up in the morning, you check your WhatsApp, you check your text, you check your Twitter, you tweet, you check your Facebook, you check your email, you check the news. Now you are really connected to everything that's known in your life. And then you run through a series of routine behaviors. You move around your house the same way you always do. You do all the same things. You go to the same grocery store, you buy the same food, you shop the same way, you do all these, you watch the same TV shows, and people do this for 10, 20, 30 years. Now their body's on autopilot, and their body's dragging them into a predictable future based on what they did in the past. You could actually take their yesterday and lift it up and set it on their tomorrow, which means then they've lost their free will to a program. So now the familiar past and the predictable future is called the known. There's only one place that you have to train a person to be so that they're not in the known, they're in the unknown, and that's called the present moment. So people get very happy being unhappy because they would rather cling to their unhappiness than take a chance in possibility. So stepping into that river and beginning to make a new choice and understanding that uncertainty, that unpredictability is the unknown. Now you're in that river of change, and it is the neurological, the biological, the chemical, hormonal, genetic death of the old self. People say to me, well, if there's uncertainty, I can't predict my future. And I always say the same thing. The best way to predict your future is to create it, not in the known, right there. That uncertainty, you can learn now how to regulate your state instead of living in fear, because the idea that things are going to get worse, the idea that you can't predict, the idea of being uncertain or can't control something actually sets off the stress response. So now you're in the unknown, and this survival gene is switched on. Of course, people are going out of the infinite possibilities that exist in the quantum field. They're going to select the worst scenario in their mind, right? So then what if you're in the unknown and you understand that, and now you can work back into that present moment, and you say, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain, put my attention behind? What behaviors today, one day, what behaviors do I want to demonstrate? And the act of closing your eyes and mentally rehearsing who you're going to be when you open your eyes begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like you've already done it. Now the brain is no longer a record of the past.